Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Reveurovision, where we're going to be looking at Romania's entry, Amnesia. But will we just be wanting to forget this one? To delve into a bit of the history of Romania at Eurovision, it's participated in the song contest since 1994, and it's been part of that kind of post-Soviet influx into the competition that has given us so much more kind of musical variety over the years. They've not been the most successful post-Soviet country in the contest. The highest they've finished has been third, and that was in 2005 and 2010. The last time they made it to the grand final of Eurovision was in 2017 with the classic Yodel It, which is probably one of the more memorable Eurovision performances over the last couple of years. But this year is the first time they're actually selecting their entry internally, and it's going to be Roxen and Amnesia. Now, Roxen was meant to represent Romania last year with Alcohol You, but she's back again this year. So that's been a little clip of Amnesia. So what do we think? Jack, I'll go to you first.
Another really good one, I think. Romania has been quite hit and miss for me in recent years. They used to be near the top and they used to enter quality every time, but they've had a few tricky entries that haven't been quite to my taste. But this is right back up there for me. I enjoyed Roxanne's entry last year, Alcohol You. It took me a while to get into that one because I didn't quite get the pun until quite late on. But I think this is a lot more of an immediate listen. And I enjoy it. I think the message of it as well, it's quite a timely message, and it's something that I relate to. You know, when she's singing about basically don't lose who you are in order to fit in. It's in order to life goes so fast, you need to sort of take it at your own pace and not forget who you are and what you bring to the world. And it's a really nice message. I think it's really, really important, and it's told well. I also appreciate that she's toned down, I think, the Billie Eilish-ness of it, because it was bordering on embarrassing last year that she was such a direct copy of Billie Eilish. And I think she's toned that down and come into her own a little bit more, which I do appreciate. But I think this is a really interesting song, a nice message that's told very elegantly. And I think this is a pretty strong one from Romania. I'm impressed.
James, what about you?
Yeah, so I think I pretty much agree really with what Jack said. It's I think it's still got an essence of Billie Eilish about it. But I think it's far from an anesthetic to me. I love it. I think it's good storytelling. I think visually it's quite good too. I mean, it is very, very, very different to what I think we've seen for a while. I mean, at one point it looks like she's dancing with half a Romanian prison. So, it's quite interesting to see something that I don't think has necessarily been done much on Eurovision before. And I'm quite excited to see what she does with it when she performs it live too. But again, I think quite a strong entry this year from them.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. I think the parallels, I think she has definitely kind of toned it down, I think, from Billie Eilish as much last year. But I think those kind of, especially, with the hairstyle in the music video, I think she still kind of has that kind of vibe. And I think that's probably actually quite good then that she's not in the same semi-final as Bulgaria, because Victoria also has, I mean, more so in kind of the voice rather than the look, but definitely that kind of like musical Billie Eilish kind of element. For me, yeah, I'm also quite a big fan. I prefer it a lot more than Alcohol You last year. And I do think it kind of stands out as a song compared to some of the other entries. I think it's not like that massive upbeat kind of female pop song that we kind of see from other countries like Cyprus and Croatia. But it definitely, so I think it will kind of stand out on its own as not being kind of like too slow, but not being kind of like that kind of high energy, sexy kind of female pop song. So yeah, I'm also quite a fan of this one. So Romania is, like we said, performing in the first semi-final. It's towards the back end of the show. It's performing 13th, just after Israel and just before Azerbaijan. So the question is, do we think it's going to qualify for the final, and where would we put it personally? Jack, I'll go to you.
So I think actually you made the very, very good point that it's lucky for them both that Romania and Bulgaria are not in the same semi-final, because they are aiming for the exact same music fan. They're very, very similar. And as you said, Bulgaria is more stylistically, in terms of the way she sings vocally, she's a lot more similar to Billie Eilish than this. But yeah, I think it benefits them both that they're not in the same semi-final. I put this as my number 12 this year, and I actually think that's, on reflections, a little bit low. I wish I put it a bit higher now, because I do enjoy it, and there's so many songs that I want to put in my top 10, but there's only 10 spaces, so I think this is just sort of a slip down. Maybe now on reflection I would put it a bit higher, but I think it's really strong. Whether it will qualify or not, I want to say yes, but I have a horrible feeling that because this is such a hard semi-final, as we say every time, that there is going to be a real shock non-qualifier. And I have a nasty feeling that it's going to be this, because it is in a ridiculously hard second half of the show. It's between two very upbeat and very energetic songs. It's got Israel on one side and Azerbaijan on the other. Both of those have got really strong staging potential, that this could end up being forgotten, I worry. If it does go through, and it deserves to go through, definitely, in the final, I think it might end up splitting the vote with Bulgaria, so I don't see it doing particularly well in the final. But worryingly, I think that this is going to be a little bit of a challenge actually getting there. I want it to be there, it deserves to get there, but there is a real risk that this will be the shock non-qualifier of the year.
Yeah, those are kind of the concerns I have with it as well. James, what are your thoughts?
I mean, very similar really to Jack, because I mean, I feel it's slightly harsh now, because I actually put it as number 16 for me. I mean, I really do like it, but again, it was, similar to what Jack said. I think maybe it was the apprehension of how would it do that put me off putting it in towards my top 10. And I think, again, it's like some of the ones we've talked about already before, where I think it's a good catchy number, but it's whether people will take to it. I think that's the key, is will people sort of be like, well, this is really good, so we're going to back it, or will they sort of be like, well, actually, I preferred this one or that one? I think that's where the crux of it will be. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with it, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I personally ranked it as my number 14, so just in between you two. I also kind of have these concerns about whether it'll kind of stand out in the semi-final for the kind of right reasons, or whether it'll kind of get drowned out by some of the other songs. I mean, I really hope it doesn't. So I think, yeah, it's not a short-fire qualifier, but hopefully it will get through.
Can I just jump in there really quickly and say, I think it's interesting that both James and I have said that we feel a bit harsh in our rankings, and that now we almost will put it a little bit higher. And I think that's part of the problem. It's not very immediate, and we appreciate it after multiple listens and once it sits with us. And obviously at Eurovision, you haven't got that. It's a one listen thing. You only get one chance. So maybe that's part of the problem. That's maybe the root of our concerns, that it's not as immediately gripping as it needs to be to do well.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because I don't think I kind of appreciated it until I'd listened to it a couple of times. And, kind of Eurovision is just you listen to songs, most people hearing them for the first time, unless you're a nerd like us. So that gives, according to us, Romania a score of 42. So we've got over that 51, the marker of kind of where all our songs seem to end up. So it's definitely kind of in the higher part of our rankings so far. But that's it for today's episode. Please, if you agree with us or disagree with us, feel free to comment, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell notification to get notified when we upload new content. But that's it. Thank you for watching.